Hi everyone, let's do some printing. Today we will be focusing on 4 lowercase letters that all have something important in common. The letters we are focusing on are lowercase v, lowercase w, lowercase x, and lowercase y. The reason we are learning to print all 4 of these letters at the same time is because they all start the exact same way. Each of these letters begins with a forward slide. We call it a slide because it reminds you of the equipment on the playground. It's a line at an angle. Let's get started with lowercase v. Lowercase v starts directly on the dotted line. Go to the dotted line, slide forward. I'm picking up my pen, but normally you wouldn't. After you've done your forward slide, you will bounce right back up. Just like that. The reason it's called a forward slide is because the line is going down on an angle. 2 finger spaces. Let's try another lowercase v. Go to the dotted line, slide forward. Don't pick your pen up this time. Bounce back up. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward. Remember, don't pick your pen up, bounce back. When you bounce back, you're doing the exact opposite as what you did when you started out. 2 finger spaces, slide forward, and bounce back. When you bounce back, you also finish on the dotted line. A lowercase v does not go above the dotted line. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forwards, bounce back. This is lowercase v. Erase your strip. The next letter we are going to practice is lowercase w. If you can do a lowercase v, you should be able to do a lowercase w, because it's basically 2 v's put together. Let's have a look. Go to the dotted line, slide forward, bounce back. I'm going to lift my marker to show you that I've made a lowercase v. And now, in order to turn it into a w, I have to repeat what I've already done. So instead of lifting my pen, I keep it where it is. I slide forward again and bounce back once more. Oh, that W is a bit too wide. I'll try and make it a little bit more narrow on the next one. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward, bounce back, slide forward again, and bounce back. The lowercase w does not go above the dotted line. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward, bounce back, slide forward again, and bounce back. And remember, the reason it's called slide forward is because your slide is going in the direction that you would read a book. The slide is going towards the right. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward, bounce back, slide forward, bounce back. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward, bounce back, slide forward, and bounce back. Notice that my lowercase w is sitting on the bottom line. Neither the v nor the w goes underneath the bottom line. Both of these letters fit between the dotted line and the ground. Let's move on to another letter that starts exactly the same way. Let's try lowercase x. Lowercase x also starts on the dotted line, just like the v and the w. Go to the dotted line, slide forward. Oh, I don't much like that slide. It's not very straight. I think I'll try it again. Go to the dotted line, slide forward. This time you pick up your pen or your pencil. you need to lift it because now you'll be going to a different starting spot for the next line. Go to the dotted line again, but this time it's going to be on the other side. Can you see how it's far apart from where I first started? Now, the next line in the lowercase x is a slide as well, except this time it will be backwards, the way we don't read a book. Go to the dotted line, slide back, just like that. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward and lift. Go back to the dotted line. I've put a dot to show you where I'll be starting. This time slide back and lift. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward, lift, go to the dotted line, and slide back. The lowercase x should cross in the middle. If you imagine the space between the dotted line and the bottom, the middle is probably right about there. That is where I will try and make my lines cross. I'll do it once more and see if I can cross on the dot. Go to the dotted line, slide forward, lift, go to the dotted line, slide back. Well, my dot's gone. I must have gone right over top of it. My x is balanced. When I crossed the lines, it was in the middle between the dotted line and the bottom line. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forwards, lift, go to the dotted line, slide back. The lowercase x does not go underground. It sits on the bottom line, and it also does not go above the dotted line, just like the last 2 letters. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forwards, lift, go to the dotted line, slide back. One more, go to the dotted line, slide forward, lift, go to the dotted line, slide back, lift. That's lowercase x. So far, V, W, and X have all started on the dotted line, and they have all began with a forward slide. That means sliding in the direction that we read a book. The next letter also starts with a slide forward and also starts on the dotted line. Next, we'll be practicing lowercase y. Go to the dotted line, slide forward, and lift. That's exactly the same way we started our lowercase x, and our v, and our w. You actually need to lift your pen though for this one. Now you're going to go to the dotted line once again, and this time your slide backwards is going to be much longer than the other slides. It's going to be way down. So we will say slide way down, and that will let us know we have to go under the bottom line. Slide way down. There's our lowercase y. We say it's way down because it went under the bottom line. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forwards, lift, go to the dotted line again, slide way down. Our second slide goes backwards. It's in a different place than when we did a lowercase x. We're out quite a bit wider this time. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward, lift. Be careful. You need to make sure that when you put your pen down for the second line, you don't put it too close to where you started from. In fact, it should actually be out from where your slide ended. That will allow your slide back to meet up perfectly with the slide that went forwards. Go to the dotted line, slide way down. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forward, lift. Be careful where you put your starting dot. If you put it here, that's much too close to where you started the first slide. Try and move it out a little bit more. In fact, if you cover up the bottom part of a Y, you will notice it looks like a lowercase v. So when you put your starting dot in place, make sure you can imagine the line connecting it and see if it would look like a lowercase v before you actually do it. Go to the dotted line, slide way back. 2 finger spaces, go to the dotted line, slide forwards. See if you can find that perfect place to start the next line. Imagine a V extending up. Slide way down. Perfect. 2 finger spaces. Go to the dotted line. Slide forward. Lift. Go to the dotted line. Slide way down. You could also say way back, since you are going backwards with the second line. Sometimes kids will write their lowercase y backwards. That's because they're not starting in the right spot. You see, all of the letters we've practiced today, V, W, X, and Y, they all start from the dotted line and begin with a forward slide. If you can remember that, your lowercase y shouldn't end up backwards. Let's do a review of all 4 letters that we've talked about today. We're going to do lowercase v, lowercase w, lowercase x, and lowercase y. To show that they all have the beginning line in common, watch this. I will go to the dotted line and do a forward slide for each letter. That's how they all start. Now we can transform them into each individual letter. They all began with a forward slide. Now let's turn the first line into a V. All we have to do is bounce back up. Let's turn the second line into a lowercase w. We'll start by bouncing up once. We'll slide forward again, and then we'll bounce up one last time. Let's turn this next line into a lowercase x. We need to go back to the dotted line and then slide back. Let's turn the final line into a lowercase y. We'll need to put a starting dot up here on the dotted line, imagining the letter V, and then we'll slide way back or way down, however you prefer to say it. You know that this lowercase y is the right direction because when you printed it, the very first line that you did was a slide forward. If you don't do a slide forward first, you're at risk of flipping your y the wrong direction. Make sure you start with the slide forward, lift, and then do your slide way back. Sometimes what happens is kids do their very first line as a slide back, like this, and then their y ends up backwards. None of these letters we've done today start with a slide back. They all start with a slide forward. If you can remember that, it should keep those y's facing the right direction. See if you can make a pattern with the letters that we've practiced today: V, W, X, and Y. Good luck!